Hi there, my name is Brandon Torrance and I'm with the BackLogger project. I'm going to be running you through our installation process and how you can do maintenance and how you can work on this project in the future, right? The guide I'm going to be using for myself that I'm going to keep off screen is going to be the installation manual that I created here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move that off screen. And then here I have a remote connection to my laptop currently going. Okay, so for this project, you do have a couple prerequisites that you need to fulfill in order to work on this project, right? We are using technologies like Node.js for the actual main server of this web app. We're using Git version control, and we're using just an advanced text editor. In my example, I'm using Visual Studio Code. Okay, so here's one of the first downloads that you need to do. Now, I'm not going to run through any of the actual downloads because this should be straightforward and this does not require me to walk you through each step of the download process. If you're going to be installing Node.js, you have to work with npm because npm is what allows you to get the modules, and that gets installed as you install Node.js. Okay, Node.js has extra features. If you'd like to download it, you may. All I recommend is that you always use the latest stable branch for this, and obviously choose the platform you're using and your bit version. Okay, I already have Node.js installed here, so like I said, I won't be doing the actual installation process for anything. I'm only going to be doing the installation process and setup for the project itself. Okay, so here's the node.js page to download it. Then you also have to make sure that you have downloaded Git because you need Git for version control. Um, simple as from here. GitHub.com also has examples of how you can work with Git if you never worked with it before. And you also need to use some form of an advanced text editor. In our case, we worked with Visual Studio Code because it's a great advanced text editor, very modular, and it's very lightweight. Please download it for your respective platform. You need to use it. Okay. So for this example, I'll be installing it in a project that I have in my capstone project folder just called installation example, right? You just want to set up a directory for yourself on your computer to be able to set up the project, right? So for us, we're using this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click here on the screen. I'm going to open a terminal. When you have everything installed, all this is going to work together seamlessly, right? So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be doing a git clone command, right? Because I'm going to clone the main repository, right? I want to get a copy of that repository on my computer so that I'm able to continue working on it. I have our GitHub for the BackLogger project open here, right? So all I'm going to do in this example is I'm going to come here, I'm going to choose code. I'm going to go down here to where it says copy URL to clipboard. Now I have the URL copied to my clipboard for BackLogger, which is the main branch that we're working on. Now I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to come back to our terminal here. I'm simply just going to right click, and it's going to paste our GitHub URL here for the project, right? So that is again git clone the URL of the project, and you hit enter, and it'll go ahead. Git will handle the rest for you and automatically clone the project to your computer. Once that's done, you can go ahead and close the terminal. And now we have the BackLogger project here on the computer, and you can see you have everything, right? If you notice, we are missing the node modules file folder, and that's because node modules folders can get heavy as you expand a project, and there's a lot of different modules inside of the node modules folder for all kinds of different components related to Node.js. You should never back that up to a GitHub because it can cause a lot of bloat and make your project weigh a lot more than it needs to. So that's why Node.js is amazing, because you can install it on the fly with npm in your development environment, and I'll be showing you how to do that, right? So once we have the project cloned like we just did, we're going to go ahead and open this project in Visual Studio. There's multiple different ways to open this project with CS code. I'm going to do it just a simple way where you right click in the project directory, you click show more options, and then you go to open with code. Here it's going to present with you the Visual Studio Code environment. Please note, my environment is slightly customized with different extensions that I've added to just give things more visual clarity. Colors might be presented differently as well, since I have a color correction problem with my eyes. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click cancel on the welcome screen. Once you're here, the first thing you need to do to get started with setting up your development environment is you need to open up the terminal. So you can do that by going up to the three dots, selecting terminal, selecting new terminal. The reason why we do this is so we can guarantee that we're in the project directory. And all we're going to do to get all the dependencies of this project is simply type in npm for the node packet manager, and you're going to type in install. What does this command do? This command is going to go ahead and review our package file, right? Which is going to look for all these dependencies that we're currently using in the project, and it's going to download these matching versions, right? Anytime you see a version with an up arrow here, it means that it's going to get the latest version of that, which in our case, we always want to be working with the latest technologies because you always want to be innovating, right? So we're going to keep it with the latest technologies. I'm going to close that. And like I said, all you need to do, I just showed you that for clarity. You never have to open the package.json file. I just showed it for clarity so you know what you're downloading. Then you come back down here. When you type in npm install, you hit enter. Give it a tiny moment for it to actually run through the installation process. And once it's finished, you'll see that you have a new folder here at the top left called node modules, right? Now, one very big thing when it comes to working with Node.js, you need to try your very best in the node project that you're working on to never modify this, because like I said, the node modules folders is comprised of Node.js itself along with any other dependencies that you're working with. So in our case, examples like bdcrypt, cookie parsing, etc. That's all located in here. See, and as you can clearly see, this is one of the reasons why you do not want to back this up onto GitHub, right? It's very important because this can bloat up your GitHub project immensely. So that's why we have a gitignore file. Gitignore files are beautiful because they allow you to inform your version control system that, hey, these are the certain folder structures that I want to ignore completely, right? I've set it up so that it's easier for students in the future that are working on the project. When they clone the repository, you're going to get a copy of the base gitignore file that already includes the node modules file, right? So you don't have to add it, it's there. But I highly recommend when you do this, you come in and add the gitignore file itself to the gitignore file. I know that's kind of redundant to say, but the reason why is because you don't want to re-back up a new version of the gitignore file, right? You want to make it to where when people download it, they're already getting the node modules variant. And if you ever want to add things to the future, you have it here. I never recommend uploading this file to your GitHub because that can cause problems for other people whenever they download it and install it. Okay. Once that's finished, we can go ahead and close this. We don't need to save it in my case because I'm just running an example, right? The last thing you need to do is we just need to make sure that you're able to properly run your Node.js project. So for the first time, go ahead and open your app.js file, which is the main file for the Node server, right? Whenever you boot up the server, this is the main file that runs, which is going to be able to instruct the server on how to operate to different parts. So once you're here, go ahead and either click your F5 function key, or just to show you in clarity, you can go to run and hit start debugging. The first time you execute this in your environment, it's going to ask you, how do you want to debug this? Please make sure you choose node.js so you can actually run the node.js server. And if everything goes well and you set up your environment perfectly how I showed you here, you're going to see these two messages. And when you see these two messages, you're good to go. Just to give you a quick explanation, this message that I have highlighted here is your Node.js server for the BackLogger project working, right? This is the node. This is the actual server running. So I can right now go to a browser, like I do here, and I can type in http //localhost, and the server set to run on port 5000. Hit enter, and you'll see that I'll load the project file here, right? So again, if you're seeing this first line, that's fantastic. That means the Node.js server is running, right? The second line. Since we're using an online database, which means it's a database that's located in a cloud service, right? We don't want to bloat our own server with the expendable data storage, right? So you want to be able to contract out an online cloud service for a database. In our case, we're using one that works extremely well with Node.js, which is MongoDB. One of the reasons for that is because Node.js is a server-side application server runner that is scripted in JavaScript. You're able to develop this on JavaScript. MongoDB is a JSON notation database, which is JavaScript objects, which is fantastic. They work super well together, and it makes it for a super lightweight application that is very responsive. So if you see this message, that means that you were also able to successfully connect to the MongoDB server, which is the shared user account that has been provided to the professor and that you should find in the project's files. Okay. If you're wondering how that gets connected, just in case it gets changed in the future, that's being handled by the .env file here, which is an environment variable file, and this is the actual connection string for the shared account for the FIU BackLogger project. Okay, once that's all done, congratulations, you now have your development environment set up and you're able to continue working on the project. In terms of maintenance, this should be, theoretically speaking, a fairly low maintenance project, because like I said before in the introductory, everything is handled off of your node modules, right? So again, we highly recommend that your packagization always have this an up arrow. However, if for some reason in the future, if you ever come across that one of these dependencies that we have added, or a dependency that you add in the future is having an issue, you should do some research and look into what's the latest stable version of that package, and then you should remove the carrot top and insert that specific version and run a full npm install again, so that you have the latest stable version fixed. Okay, so one more time, keep the up arrow so you're always using the latest version. But if for whatever reason that latest version currently has an issue and you need to return to a previous latest stable version of that dependency, simply remove the carrot top and insert manually the fixed version number for that dependency and run npm install again to reinstall that node module. Okay. With that, you should be able to work on this project, and in the future update it and do whatever needs to be done by the students in the future as they deem necessary. And with that, my name is Brandon Torrens. Thank you for the presentation.